We spend so much time and energy securing our digital lives, our networks, our data, all our devices. But what if we could take those same powerful concepts, the ones that pros use, and apply them to protect ourselves from manipulation and, personal attacks? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down right here. And that really gets to the heart of the matter, doesn't it? We install firewalls and all sorts of software to protect our computers, but what about our own lives? We're going to show you how to build that personal firewall by borrowing some of the core principles of cyber defense. All right, here's our game plan. We're going to start by really understanding the threat landscape. Then, we'll get into proactive strategies, like shrinking your exposure and hardening your defenses. After that, we'll build an incident response plan. And to wrap it all up, we'll cover how to master your own narrative. All right, so first things first, we've got to reframe how we even think about this problem. The attacker here isn't some piece of malicious code. It's a person, and they're trying to manipulate you. But, and this is the cool part, the same disciplined principles we use to stop malware can be incredibly effective at stopping them too. Okay, so this slide is really the key to everything we're talking about. In cybersecurity, there's this concept of an attack surface. Think of it like this. Every open port, every service running on a network is a potential door for an attacker to walk through. Well, the exact same thing applies to our personal lives. Every phone number, email address, or social media profile, that's all part of your personal attack surface. Each one is an entry point someone could try to exploit. So that naturally leads us to our first set of strategies. We can't just eliminate our threat surface entirely, right? So what do? We manage it. We shrink it. We control our exposure, which makes us a much, much harder target right from the get-go. In the tech world, they have a name for this: exposure management. It's this whole systematic process of finding and, closing all the unnecessary doors and windows into your network. It's about being deliberate instead of just crossing your fingers and hoping for the best. So, how do you actually do this? Well, you start by segmenting your life. You create totally distinct channels for business and personal stuff. For work, you use official, structured contact points. And here's the big one. You have to recognize that not every message deserves a reply. In cyber terms, you don't respond to every port scan. You just monitor, you filter, and you only engage when it's absolutely necessary. And this idea builds right into our next big concept, the principle of least privilege. In IT, this is absolutely fundamental. You would never give an intern the admin password to the entire company's server, right? Of course not. You give them exactly what they need to do their job, and nothing more. So what does this look like in your actual life? It means you control the flow of information. You don't just grant social familiarity or share deep personal details with someone you barely know. You limit how much public information is out there about your schedule or your relationships. See, every little piece of context you give away prematurely is material someone can twist or distort. It's all about granting access to your life on a strictly need-to-know basis. All right, so we've started shrinking our exposure. Awesome. Now let's get into hardening what's left. This is all about building a strong, resilient perimeter around yourself, making it really tough for any bad actor to get through. And that process starts with what's called identity hardening. Before any system grants access, it demands proof, right? A password, maybe a code from your phone, something to prove you are who you say you are. It doesn't just trust blindly. And we've got to bring that exact same mindset to our own interactions. Treat an unknown contact like unauthenticated traffic. Basically, with caution. Slow things down. Don't immediately grant them familiarity. Keep your initial responses minimal, neutral, professional, at least until you've validated the context. Explaining yourself too much, too early, is just giving away free ammunition. Next up, let's talk about something called emotional firewalling. One of the biggest weak points in any security system, it's the human factor. It's the person who gets a panicked email and clicks a bad link without thinking. In the exact same way, your own emotions can become your biggest vulnerability when you feel like you're under attack. So how do you build this firewall for yourself? First, you learn to recognize manipulation tactics like anger baiting for exactly what they are. When someone comes at you with immediate hostility, you don't treat it as a debate. You treat it as an anomaly, as weird behavior. You use short, neutral responses, and then you disengage. You just remove the emotional oxygen their fire needs to burn. It's all about sticking to procedure, not reacting. Okay, look, Even with the best defenses in the world, stuff can still happen. An attacker might get through. That is why every serious security operation has an incident response plan. And you should too. It's all about being prepared, not surprised. And a huge part of any solid response plan is having good data, really good data. In the cyber world, this means logging and creating audit trails. Every action is recorded so that when something goes wrong, investigators can go back and reconstruct exactly what happened. For us, this just means documentation. And let's be super clear, this isn't about being paranoid. Think of it as just good operational hygiene. Preserve voicemails, keep message histories, take screenshots of interactions that feel off. Why? Because if anyone ever tries to misrepresent an interaction, records made at that time, what they call contemporaneous records, are infinitely more powerful than you just trying to recall details from memory. Another key part of your plan is protocol discipline. There's a reason security teams live and die by their checklists and protocols, because under pressure, humans make mistakes. Having a consistent protocol takes the guesswork out of it and helps you make the right move even when you're totally stressed out. So let's build your personal protocol. It's really just 3 simple steps. Step 1, use standardized language. Basically, create a few go-to scripts for handling difficult interactions. Step 2, avoid improvising. When you're under pressure, stick to the rules you already set for yourself. And finally, step 3, disengage consistently. Have a clear, repeatable procedure for ending contact that's inappropriate. This kind of predictability makes it really hard for someone to claim you're being erratic. All right, this brings us to our final and maybe the most crucial section. All of these defenses we've talked about, the reduced service area, the hardened perimeter, the response plan, they all lead to one thing: you mastering your own narrative. At the end of the day, your long-term reputation is your ultimate shield. When you have a stable, consistent digital presence, it makes it so much harder for someone to successfully frame you as volatile or aggressive. When you have a long history of measured, professional communication, those attacks, they just don't stick. There's just a mountain of evidence to the contrary. And this is where all that hard work really pays off. If a situation does escalate, your preparation is your superpower. You have the logs, the records, the timeline. You don't have to get emotional or resort to arguments. You can just communicate calmly and factually, presenting the structured evidence. Trust me, composure that's backed by documentation is almost impossible to defeat. So look, the goal here isn't to make you live in fear or try to eliminate every single risk, because that's impossible. The goal is to make yourself a difficult, unproductive, and just plain unrewarding target. And you do that through discipline boundaries and procedural consistency. So by putting these cyber-inspired strategies into practice, you really do build a robust architecture for your personal defense. You secure the perimeter. But that leaves us with one last kind of chilling question. What happens when the threat isn't some external attacker, but someone who's already inside your trust boundaries? Well, that's a challenge for another day.